Hi, Nate. If you're there, I'm not seeing you as a viewer. Hey, Nate, if you're there, go ahead and just click on along the left sidebar. You should see a place to chat, or you can talk. I'm hoping you can say something. I'm not sure. So I see that we have 2 viewers with us today, and I just wanted to say thank you. I apologize. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. It would be great if you are there, if you could please enter your information into the chat box, just to let us know who's here with us. For those of you who do not know how to do that, if you go along the left-hand side of your screen, you should have a window that comes up where you can actually click on chat. And it's a little button, looks like a chat bubble, if you will. It's blue, and you can go ahead and you can enter in, and I'm just going to put up a note in mine that says like this, and see if anybody who's there, go ahead and just type in on the chat so that we can answer questions and we can have a conversation. For those of you who are stopping by, but for those of you who are stopping by, please say hello and share where you're joining us from. You can either do that by speaking, or you can actually put your information into the chat box. So I'm seeing that there are a couple of viewers coming on. If you have the opportunity, go ahead and type into the group chat and let us know who you are and where you are here from. We are just doing a Q&A today, so really we're just here to field questions. We don't have an official presentation, so if folks have questions, feel free to send them our way. Hello, folks. I can see people popping in and out. If you are with us and you can hear us, or even if you can't hear us, go ahead and type your information into the group chat. Nate is with us, and he and I will be answering questions that you may have about troubleshooting with your campus pantry, about starting a new campus pantry, or if you're not interested in starting or running one, if you just have general curiosities or questions, please send them our way. If you do not know how to send us messages via the group chat, you should be able to see along the left side, there should be a blue conversation bubble. And if you click on that, the group chat will open and you can ask your questions that way. So folks, I think we're experiencing some technical difficulties perhaps. If folks aren't able to get involved with the group chat, I will give you my email. You can send me a message and let me know. I'm here, Nate is here, and we are ready to have conversations with folks. But I see that there are viewers, but we're not seeing anything coming in. I apologize for that. You can send me a quick message at clare.cady@oregonstate.edu. That's clare.cady@oregonstate.edu, and let me know what difficulties you're experiencing. Hopefully we can get some folks able to ask the questions that they're interested in chatting. So what I'm hearing is that there's no conversation bubble showing up. So people can hear me, but apparently they can't communicate with me. Nate, can you text me and let me know if that's the case? And then I'm not entirely sure. Trying to figure out, because I can see viewers, I can see my chat, and I can see the messages I'm leaving, and I can see along the left-hand side of my area here, I can see a chat bubble. And so I would hope that you all have the same. I apologize, everybody. Okay, so Nate's saying that he can hear me, he can see me. Hi, Nate. But isn't able to send me messages, which is definitively not useful to us. Hey, Casey. Oh, okay. So Casey told me she needs to be refreshing to see comments. Okay, so I just got a message from Brittany and from Casey saying that they're having the same issues that Nate is having. And I am, again, I can see that there are 4 viewers here, and I appreciate you all emailing me. If you have questions, why don't you just start by emailing them this way, and we will sort of cobble something together as we go here. I'm really sorry for this. I'm going to see if I can't troubleshoot this situation. And as we continue to talk, because I'm very excited to be able to talk to folks, and I'm really glad people are here. So hi, thank you so much for joining. Unfortunately, we're experiencing this issue, and I'm trying to figure out how to make it work. I haven't tested this, and it worked last time. So what I'm doing right now, everybody, is I'm just trying to look through the common questions here. Oh, okay. So I have a question from Casey. Casey's asking about the research with the Hope Lab. And so, yeah, I'm happy to share that. So she says, I read that you'll be conducting research with the Wisconsin Hope Lab. What research questions are you hoping to answer? That's a great question. And what we will be doing is we're actually going to be trying to get a greater idea of how many students campus pantries are serving and how they're going about serving them. And so we are actually in the process of developing sort of our official research question, right now, what we're looking to do is an overview survey that is focusing on who is being served, how they're being served, and how campus pantries are being run, so that we can answer a greater level of questions that we get specifically from press, but also from folks that are coming in. What is, for example, the most commonly utilized pantry format? How are we determining need? What kinds of food are we giving out? How many students are we serving? How often are we serving them? And those are the kinds of things that we currently do not know. Sorry, I just got a text from Nate, and it distracted me. My apologies. So those are the questions that we're going to be seeking to answer. So really, it's going to be an overview of CUFBA membership and trying to understand who it is, who our members are, and what this sort of the body of work that's being done by campus-based pantries looks like. So Nate just texted me and said he can see a red thumbs down and a green thumbs up button on his, and that's all he can see, which is fascinating to me. Let's see, on the main page. Again, oh, here we go. So I see Sally says, can you turn on the Q&A app? I'm actually now seeing where people are writing in, which is great. Hi Sally. So I see Sally, I see Brittany, I see Casey. Who else do I see? I see Jakayla. I see Cardinals fan 1900. Hi, Cardinals fan. I see Barbara. I see Jessica. So I'm seeing folks, and I'm seeing what y'all are writing. So that's exciting. And so if you have other questions, please feel free to send them. I am now seeing your questions. Again, I apologize that it's taken so long for me to figure out how to make this a conversation, but hopefully we can now continue that. Yeah, so right now we're working from two different pages. We're working on the Google Plus page, folks leaving messages, and we are working on the chat where people can see me. Hi, I apologize. I unfortunately, while I'm on the air, it's not allowing me to enable the Q&A. If you have questions, please feel free to type them in on the Google Plus page beneath the Hangout where you click to join the Hangout. I am refreshing it so we can have that conversation. For those of you who may be joining us late, and I see some folks have been joining us, this is the College and University Food Bank Alliance conversation, and we are here to do Q&A with our members or folks that are interested in starting campus-based food banks. If folks are experiencing issues that they're needing to troubleshoot, if folks have questions about getting started, or if you just have a curiosity about campus-based food banks in general, this is the place to ask it. And we have about another half an hour. And so if you have things you want to talk about, conversations you want to have, please share them. Again, I want to apologize that this is, we're kind of playing fast and loose on this. This is the first time we've ever done this. We're hoping to continue to make improvements. I apologize for the technical difficulties and appreciate folks that have stuck with us as we've been trying to sort this out, as well as your suggestions as we've been doing it. I know that one of the most frequently asked questions I'm getting really soon or currently is a lot of folks who are getting started are asking the question, what kinds of things do you buy or do you bring in initially to get started? We did just do a post on that on our website, CUFBA.org, outlining sort of the basics that you could bring in if you were looking to start up and you were doing non-perishables only. The non-perishables only tends to be the most common thing that folks start with. And then from there, folks will quite often move towards having fridges and freezers and offering fresh produce as well. So there is information there if people are interested in that. I'm actually curious for folks who are watching, what are some of the most common things that you all are sharing or that your students and clients at your campus food banks are actually giving out? That would definitely be helpful in terms of helping others folks start up. So I'm seeing a large number of folks out there who are watching. We have 9 people on the air with us right now. If you have questions that you'd like to ask, please go to the page where you clicked to join the chat on the G Plus page or the Google Plus page, and right beneath where you would click to join the chat, there is a chat box, and it says say something. Go ahead and type your question in there, and we will do our best to answer it as we go. I apologize, the Q&A, we're having difficulty getting the Q&A actually enabled on the Hangout itself, and I'm not entirely sure if I can set that up. It's not allowing me to do it while I am on air. But I do have an update here from Nate. Nate's saying he has a quick update on our website. We are currently working on getting a members message board up, and it should be up in the next couple of weeks. Our hope is that at that point, we'll be able to have an ongoing conversation as a part of a digital community, and that will allow us to continue to have these types of conversations, hopefully with fewer technical difficulties than today. The other thing that we're working on is trying to make sure that we can move in the direction of having those collections up so that folks can be continuing to put those forward. We're hoping that we will be meeting with our that have been building that for us, and we're still aiming to have a place for each member group to have that collection that they'll be able to share about their program. And for those of you who may not know what we're talking about, it looks a lot like Pinterest, actually, and it will allow you to post either blog posts, pictures, videos, information about what it is you're up to for everyone else to be able to see. And then you'll be able to go in and take a look at what other member schools are doing as well. And then that members only section where the conversations can be happening will be a private space. So if you have troubleshooting you want to do, if you want to ask a question and see who else is out there maybe experiencing the same issue or may have answers, you will be able to connect with other folks within the network, which, by the way, we are up above 160 member schools at this point. And so we're really, again, trying to facilitate more conversation among member schools. Our growth has been spectacular and much faster than we expected. And so our hope is that we're going to be able to facilitate those conversations because right now a lot of it is Nate and I fielding questions from members, and we would really like to be crowdsourcing the expertise that we have that's within the space. I see that I've got an email from Sally. So Sally just asked the question, will you be expanding resources available on the website? So I think I may have just answered your question, Sally, but the second part to your question, I'd love to be able to see how other pantries keep track of inventory and donations. I think that's great, and I think that I'm going to put that on my list of questions that we might ask people to answer when we open up that members section. We are actually planning on seeding it with some most commonly asked questions. I also see that from you, Sally, you say, I'm working on the beginnings of a case study of our pantry for my MPA program. I've created a survey. I'd love to distribute it to members. If you think it's appropriate, would you mind sharing it? And Sally, I am happy to include that in our March newsletters. So yes, I'm happy to do that. And that way folks can, if they have the opportunity, share their thoughts or to do that survey. So yes, the answer is yes. So I got a note here from Casey McGlowan at Stony Brook University. She says the SBU food pantry met with a nutritionist before we opened because we wanted to offer healthy non-perishables. Here's a link to the types of food we stock. And so you will actually be able to see that link if you go onto the Google Plus page just below where you clicked to join this chat. You can see that link and you can go and check out the information and resources that Casey just shared. Thank you so much for sharing that, Casey. I definitely know that nutrition is one of those pieces that folks regularly are concerned around, and specifically because there tends to sometimes be some challenges with regards to what people consider healthy when they are experiencing food insecurity. And so for some folks, it's just about trying to get the calories, and there isn't necessarily a priority placed on what we would consider proper nutrition. And so I know in my office, we get a lot of student workers that are nutrition majors that are very excited about working in our food pantry and struggle with some of the food choices that they see people making when they're taking food off of our pantry shelves. One of the things that so it ends up being two different educational conversations. Educational conversation number one is with the student staffer specifically, which is that for us at least, choice is a really important part of the food pantry process. So allowing people to select the foods that they want for themselves and their families, rather than taking that choice away from them and making the decision around what they should be eating. And so ours is a shopping style pantry. People come through, they're allowed to take X amount of a specific food type item, for example, vegetables or fruits or grains. And so we do stock things that we do stock things that we would consider sort of higher nutritional value. So we might stock whole wheat pastas. We may stock vegetables that we think, you know, would be exciting to us. And then those things don't go off of our shelves, and people will be more likely to choose, for example, pasta that's not whole wheat. So that conversation around choice and also about the classed nature of food is something that I'll have that conversation, the educational conversation with that student worker. When it comes to trying to provide educational opportunity to understand better ways to eat, we do food demonstrations in our pantry where we actually have a chef from our campus come in. He picks things straight out of the pantry the day of, creates some recipes, and he has like a little food cooking platform with like a 2-burner, we have like a 2-burner propane stove, and he will cook food from the pantry and offer samples to people, and then also give out the recipe. And it tends to be more like a 5, maybe at most 5 item recipe, and he tries to keep the prep time and the cooking time below 30 minutes for creating that. And so we're doing, again, another type of educational conversation where we may take things that we would hope people would take and put them into those recipes. I'm curious if there's other folks out there that are maybe doing any type of nutrition work with their students, either understanding it with their student workers or having conversations with the students that you are serving. I also see that Sally has put in a note. She said she has posted the link to her survey. It is also on the Google Plus page just below where you clicked to join this live chat. And so if you wanted to, you can check that out. You can share that. And once again, Sally, I will make sure that that goes out with our next communication to all the membership. So another commonly asked question that we get as people are getting started is how do we find funding? And we did just do on our website a funding, ways to find funding or ways to raise funds. We did a post on the website just recently about that. So I think it's 10 ways to fund your food pantry is the name of the post. And I will make sure that the link to that, I'm going to work on getting the link to that up as I'm talking to you all so that you can see it. But I also am very curious, how do folks find funding? Do you fundraise? Do you food raise? Here at Oregon State, we have a nonprofit affiliation, so we are actually able to receive donations in a number of different ways because we have a 501c3 status, but not everybody does. And so I'm particularly interested if folks aren't 501c3, what are you doing to find funding and or to find food? Because not everyone's fundraising. Some folks actually are food raising. And I'm going to post this link right now. So it's 10 ways to fund your campus food bank. Another question that I'm really curious for folks that are out there is that if you have a campus food bank, are you 501c3 affiliated in any way? And if you are not, if you could let us know why that is the case. We are very curious about that specifically right now. An announcement I'd love to make is that for those of you who do have a 501c3 affiliation, I am actually working with a group that connects major donors to funding, places to fund. And so I am about to pass on a list of campus food banks that are looking for funding that have 501c3 status that this foundation will be able to then link into some major donors. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to make some announcements soon about increasing funding at some of our campus food banks. So first off, if you are 501c3, please let me know if you haven't already. And if you are not, I'm really curious to know what the reasons that you all have for not being 501c3, mostly because for a lot of folks, that is a big decision to make, and the folks need to, it definitely requires some additional work. And so I find it to be one of the benefits, or I find it to be a tremendous benefit, but not everybody does. And so my hope is that for those who want to be 501c3, we can provide some resources for them on how to achieve that status, if that's something that they're interested in. And so, yeah, if folks have barriers to that, it would be wonderful to know. We also have a new post that came out on Tuesdays. Just so you know, we are committed to making sure that the website is updated with a new blog post with information every Tuesday. And then we also are doing ad hoc blog postings as things are coming to us, specifically news about our member schools. So if you have news, please email it to me, email it to Nate, or email it to CUFBAnational@gmail.com, and we will work to get a link to that up on the site so that people can see what's going on. We've also been putting it out through social media, allowing folks to see what our accomplishments are. And we've been getting a lot of really great feedback from that. So folks are definitely appreciating hearing more about what's happening, and more schools are joining as a result of being able to see that type of celebration that's happening for the member schools. All right, I have a note here from Sally. She says, regarding nutrition, our work study students create recipe handouts every other week on what we have available in the pantry. We do discuss the fact that there aren't always very healthy choices, but I think the discussions of health often miss the aspect of how food choices relate to a student's culture and make the assumption that nutritious food is the same for everyone. We do have a very close relationship with our neighboring community garden, however, so we are able to supplement the non-perishable options with fresh food during the growing season. That's awesome. I think that one of the things you bring up, Sally, in that is the notion that there is not just one way to feed oneself nutritionally. And I do think that class, that race, that family status, that nationality, and many, many other identities, religion, food choices around what types of food people might eat, for example, a vegetarian or a vegan diet, that people have a lot of different definitions of what nutrition might be. And so I appreciate your comment. Brittany has said that we are not a 501c3 because of our limitations as a public university. We were told by administrators that this was not an option. At this point, we are completely sustained by donations, both food and financial, from the campus and community. We're working with our development office to secure additional funding. Brittany, that is a very common thing. I know that here at OSU, we were told that we were not allowed to become a 501c3 on our own. But if you're working with your development office and or maybe your foundation, you might look into the idea of asking to be sponsored by that 501c3. So we don't have our own 501c3 status. We are affiliated with the OSU Foundation, which allows us to bring in those donations, and it also gives us that 501c3 status. So if you haven't thought of that, maybe you have, just something to think about. And also, I definitely have seen that as a barrier that folks, because you exist within a public institution, you aren't able to just go out and create a nonprofit right in the middle of campus. I know Nate's Pantry is, and I think that they got grandfathered in, and because they had actually become a nonprofit prior to the public institution determining that wasn't okay. So this is Nate's comment. Nate's comment is actually regarding the inventory and the database question. What he said is they use an Excel spreadsheet to manage their inventory. And for our client database, they had a PhD student. So we use a program created by a PhD student here at MSU. After the message board is up, I'm going to work with the same 2 students to see if we can create a client database program that we can share with all CUFBA members. So it sounds like we may actually have a program that we'll be able to distribute for folks that are looking for a good way to keep track of clients. Nate said, we are a 501c3. We also work with University Advancement at Michigan State. He said he can share their main fundraising newsletter that they send out to the MSU community. So it looks like some additional resources are coming from Nate, which is pretty exciting. That's another thing that we're shooting to do. And to try and continue to share the resources that are being helpful, specifically things like databases, ways to manage inventory. That is kind of our next phase of CUFBA, is trying to continue to grow capacity for campus food banks by sharing what's working across the board. Sally has said that we use the 501c3 status of our school's foundation in order to accept donations and become members of our local food bank, which is what I was just talking about with Oregon State as well. Chris Partridge has asked a question. He said he was wondering, why wouldn't most university pantries use 501c3 under the umbrella of the university? Is there a distinction there? So Chris, universities are nonprofits via tax status, but they are actually not 501c3s. And I do not remember right now the tax code that they are, but it's a different nonprofit status. It's an educational nonprofit status. And so as a result of that, it does not qualify folks for certain types of donations, etc. So what food banks have been doing, or campus-based pantries have been doing, is either becoming a 501c3 themselves, which some campuses have been able to do, but others are, like Sally was sharing, and like we do here at Oregon State, are creating a 501c3 sponsorship, and that is allowing us to join our local food bank, to receive donations from major foundations and other major donors that really do want that tax break and they need to give to a 501c3. And so I think it's a really great partnership that does really benefit pantries. Here at OSU, we actually receive our food at about 15 cents on average per pound through our local food share. Our total food budget for the year is generally falls between $5,000 and $6,000, dependent upon how many people come through that year and what the food costs are, which is incredibly low considering that we distributed almost 40,000 pounds of food last year. And so clearly it is to our benefit, and I think it's a great question for you to ask. That's been my experience, that a lot of campuses put up barriers, or they don't really put up barriers, but there are rules around what you can and cannot do on a college campus. And so some folks haven't been able to do their own 501c3. But again, looking into that sponsorship can be really helpful. Just looking to see if I've got other stuff coming in. I'm kind of bummed that I wasn't able to swing this so Nate could be talking too. He has lots of amazing things to share. I don't know if you know this, but the MSU Food Bank, Michigan State Food Bank that Nate manages, is the oldest campus-based food bank that we know of in the country. They actually started in 1993, I think it was. And so it's pretty exciting because they have a very well developed and obviously sustained program, and is an excellent model. Here at OSU, we've only been open for 6 years, which still is long compared to other campus-based food pantries, but comparatively to what they've been doing at MSU, it's certainly sort of in its infancy comparatively. So I'm recognizing that we have about 10 minutes left in this conversation. And so I just wanted to do a couple of quick things. The first thing I want to say, and just as I'm waiting in case other questions come in, we'll definitely be here right up until noon. And even if it runs a little bit long, to answer whatever questions folks have, especially since we started late. But I did want to just say, that once we work out the kinks in this and we actually have the Q&A enabled, hopefully we will continue to have more conversations. We'll probably focus on specific topics rather than this broad kind of Q&A. What are people thinking about? What are people sort of wondering? But rather we'll pick, for example, we'll just talk about fundraising, or we'll just talk about startups, or we'll just talk about troubleshooting issues that we may have. And hopefully that will allow us to, again, continue to have conversation. I do want to just say I'm sorry that this has been kind of clunky, and I appreciate folks sticking with us as we've had these conversations. He did just chime in. I think I got the information right. Yay. He said, yes, they're the pioneer campus-based food program at Michigan State, which is really exciting if you think about what it means to start a campus food pantry, that folks at Michigan State had such a tremendous foresight to step up and put that together. And it means, in my mind, when I think about just the fact that students here at Oregon State came up with the notion of having a campus-based food bank, it is really exciting to think about that. Nate also did just send into me an example for fundraising ideas. And so I will be taking this information. Thank you for that, Nate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually attach that to our next newsletter so that folks can take a look at that. Again, we're hoping that we're going to be able to, within the next maybe few weeks, month or so, make it so that folks can share this information directly with one another. We recognize that at this point, with over 160 members in the organization, it's really not sustainable, useful, or to the best of basically anybody's experience to sort of channel everything through Nate and myself. So we're really hoping to, again, increase the digital community and create a presence that allows for people to share with one another. Sorry, Nate's making jokes. And that will allow for us to, once again, share expertise. And I'm hoping maybe start working to develop some best practices and a toolkit so that we can share that information, the knowledge gleaned from all the folks that have started up at this point with folks that are looking to get started. I know that I am talking to anywhere from 3 to 5 schools per week who are looking to start these campus-based food banks. I know I've been sending folks to some of you all that are on the chat right now. And I know that Nate's talking to a lot of folks as well. So we are really on a growth edge of a movement, and it makes it's very exciting, but it's definitely growth that we are working frantically to try and manage. And we appreciate people's patience with the issues we've had here today, but also with what I would think of as kind of slow responsiveness in terms of trying to get information out to members. So for those of you who are part of the organization, thank you so much for bearing with us as we get going on this. This is not my job full time. This is not Nate's job full time. We are doing this work on the side because we think it's really important. So yeah, and we do appreciate folks taking the time to chat with us today. I'm curious if anybody have any final thoughts or any things that they'd like to share, last questions or anything. Please feel free to type that in on the box beneath where you clicked to join this chat. Again, I'm hoping to have a smoother conversation the next time we offer this. But for now, if you have anything else you'd like to share, please feel free to type it in there. The one nice thing about all of this is that I essentially live in the land of technical difficulties. And so I at least expect them, and so they're not as frustrating to me maybe as they should be. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything come in. I'm going to give it one more minute. I do appreciate folks taking the time to chat with us today and to share. Again, we will be sharing information in the future about what's happening with the website, hopefully having folks get to connect with one another, and we will most likely be having more of these chats, hopefully with the Q&A enabled, so that we can have a quicker and less clunky conversation. I do see a note here from Nate. He says, thanks to everyone. Please do check Claire's weekly blog posts at CUFBA.org and check back soon for the members message board. The last thing I'm going to say before I go is I'm going to do a plug for our website. We had a lovely post that happened, let's see, I'm just digging through here to make sure, that came out on February 3rd, and it is about the start of the Stony Brook University food pantry. And we are hoping that other folks out there would be willing to share with us their stories about how they got started. I don't know about you, but how did you get started is one of the most common questions that I am asked, especially when I'm working with other campus pantries. I think there's a lot of opportunity for folks to learn from one another by telling these origin stories. And I'm really hoping that at least once a month, we're able to post an origin story. So if you are interested, please email me. You can reach me at clare.cady@oregonstate.edu. You can also email CUFBA, CUFBA National, so CUFBA National, all one word, at gmail.com. If you have interest in sharing your story, we're looking for 500 to 700 words max that we can post on our blog during our Tuesday postings to share just how people got started and how people are doing. We also are interested in other topics. So if you feel like you have something that you want to share, please let us know. I am more than happy, and I have a very long list of things that I can write about, but it's wonderful to have more voices in the conversation. And so I'm hoping that other folks would be willing to share. I think at this point, since I'm not seeing anything else come in, I'm going to refresh one more time here and just see. I think that we are going to close down this broadcast. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And we will be having more conversations and opportunities for us to connect in the future. If you are going to be at NASPA in New Orleans, please let me know. I would love to say hi and at least give you a high five. And thank you, everybody. And you all have a great day.